Hello guys, I have made a very weird, funny mnemonic that helps me remember the type of hypersensitivity reactions of all these 40 diseases. So I hope it works for you too. Type 1 hypersensitivity reaction occur in these 7 diseases, and they are urticaria, allergic rhinitis, allergic conjunctivitis, allergic asthma, anaphylaxis, angioedema, atopic dermatitis, and eosinophilia. So this makes UAE, U, 6 A's and then E. So in UAE, that is the first part of the mnemonic, UAE. And then type 2 hypersensitivity reaction occurs in these diseases, and they are transfusion reaction, hemolytic disease of the newborn, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, and ITP. In the first four diseases, blood is involved. So antibody binds to these cells and leads to phagocytosis, classic complement activation, or natural killer cell activation, and this happens by IgG or IgM. So this this THAI, thigh. So that is the second part, thigh, and in this, the thigh part indicates the 4 diseases that are involved with the blood. And then comes hyperacute graft rejection, rheumatic fever, and good posture syndrome. So I made this sentence: thigh had a hyperacute graft rejection, hyperacute rheumatic fever in the good pasture. Pastures as in the where animals graze. So keep that picture in your mind. In the good pasture, and this guy named Thai had a hyperacute rheumatic fever in the good pasture. Then comes myasthenia gravis, pemphigus vulgaris, pernicious anemia, and Graves' disease. And I have made this into the next part of the mnemonic. Thai had a hyperacute rheumatic fever in the good pasture after visiting my myasthenia gravis, fiance as in pemphigus vulgaris, Perry, my fiance named Perry, pernicious anemia, my fiance named Perry's my fiance, Perry's Graves' disease. So type 2 is it starts from here and ends at here. Thai had a hyperacute rheumatic fever in the good pasture after visiting myasthenia gravis, my fiance, pemphigus fiance, pernicious anemia, Graves' disease. So here the type 2 hypersensitive reaction diseases end, and the type 3 starts at sharp for S. I've made this sharp mnemonic for the type 3 hypersensitivity reactions. S for SLE, S for serum sickness, then H for hypersensitivity pneumonitis, A for arthritis reaction, R for rheumatoid arthritis and reactive arthritis, P for polyarthritis nodosa or pan, and P for post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. So sharp, SHARP, at sharp 7:30. So type 4 hypersensitivity reaction, and they are thyroiditis. So there are 7 T's, and then there are 2 C's, and then there is M, R, and I. So I made 7:30, 2 C, 2 C's, 2 C, and MRI. 7 thyroiditis. Sorry, I'll just narrate the diseases. Thyroiditis, rheumatoid, transplant rejection delayed type 1 diabetes mellitus, toxic shock syndrome, temporal arthritis, tuberculosis, and then leprosy. They go hand in hand. They are very similar kind of diseases, so I didn't add this in the mnemonic. Celiac disease, C for celiac, C for 2 C, so there are 2 C, celiac, and then hepatitis C, and then MRI for multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis. And both of rheumatoid arthritis can be of type 3 reaction or type 4 reaction, so it depends. And then inflammatory bowel disease. So the entire sentence reads as: in the UAE. Thai, had a hyperacute rheumatic fever in the good pasture. After visiting my fiance Pemphigus Perry's grave at sharp 7:30 to see the MRI.